I'm Mike O'Dowd. This is Angel Cortez and Zach Ferguson. We're with USCCA, and we're going to go over our tactical breakdown of a video we just watched. It's actually an older video. It's from June of 2023. Police shoot an armed suspect inside a crowded supermarket. Now, please, for context, we were not at this scene, and we are also not criticizing or judging any of the actions from the officers or the suspect. We are simply doing a tactical debrief, tactical breakdown of our perspective, what we liked, also some of the things maybe we would have changed or would have liked to see the officers do. So what we're going to do is we're going to watch the video, talk you guys through it, and then we're going to go out and actually demonstrate it in the field and show you kind of firsthand so you can visualize of like maybe how we would have done it.
Give me a 40 up here.
Yeah, the guy's already in that, like, he should have cut him off.
Don't let him go in. Get out of there! Get on the ground now! He's got a gun!
Like, the yelling, he's got a gun, just start. So this is the angle of the guy on the far.
The one who cut too deep.
Who cut too deep.
Yes.
And it's, you know what's interesting? This is the guy who cut too deep, and he's the guy who's yelling erratically. Mm-hmm. It's something we see a lot is the most stressed out person is the one who's acting, you know, terribly, and this is the officer. He's screaming, clearly under a lot of stress, and he's also the guy who made like an almost fatal maneuver. All right, let's see the rest. Other camera angle.
Watch his hands. Don't let him go in. Don't let him go in.
All right, so he goes in. They hit him with a taser.
Right there.
Shoot. They fan out, which is good. Oh, man. What is that guy doing? Zach, why don't you start off? What were some things you saw?
Well, so when they're outside of the grocery store, the number one man, the first police officer that you see his body cam, he's recognizing like subconsciously like he doesn't want the intruder to go inside of the store. And so he's kind of lollygagging. The suspect gets more distance away, and then in his brain clicks, he says, "Don't let him go in the store." But at that point, it was already too late. They should have, coulda, woulda, but he could have cut the angle off to where he couldn't enter the store. Now you're in a gunfight, shooting at each other with a bunch of people around rather than outside with a big piece of cover concealment.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Like right away, you see the guy going for a crowded place. You know, we're not there. Like we're taking this from just face value of what we see in the camera video, not criticizing the police, but definitely some things they could have done better. You know, something from my perspective, when they went in and the three officers decided, you know, you hear one guy, gun, he's got a gun, and it's like very amplifying. The officers did an initial response that was great. They fanned out and they made themselves, you know, more of a fighting force online. The problem is they had a perfect angle online. The suspect was already laying on the ground. They already had top advantage. But the two end caps, the two bookends, decided to go so far out that they were actually shooting at one another. The officer in the far of the screen who circled around, the guy who had the body cam, clearly stressed out. He's yelling at the top of his lungs, and he was the one who made the most egregious maneuver, which was actually going so far deep. He's firing at his teammates, and his teammates are firing at him. That could have gone so wrong. That could have been deadly for the police officers. Definitely would have been better had they stayed back in an online attack. Angel, what about you?
Right off the bat, sometimes you don't have cover. You're just right there, and you got to stop thinking about yourself, think about the team, and where your teammates are at. And if I cut deep, what am I doing to the whole, you know, firefight? What am I causing? And too often, people I feel want to run towards a cover or concealment, and sometimes that's not the answer.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, something going back to the officers like verbiage, and we're big fans of the phrase "calm breeds calm." And you hear the officer very stressed out. He's yelling, he's got a gun. And I've never been a big fan of that. A lot of law enforcement training revolves around screaming the word gun, gun, he's got a gun. Well, what that does is it induces panic. He's got a gun. But the more important question is, what is that person doing with the gun? Because if I have a gun just sitting in my lap, the gun is passive, it's not doing anything. For you to yell, gun, gun, he's got a gun. But the stress in his voice lets me know that it probably amped up all the cops. And that's not what you want to do. You want to calm it down. So being forceful and purposeful in your language, he's got a gun, calming it down, I think sends a better message. What we want to do is kind of illustrate to you guys what happened in that situation with the angles of the officers. So Zach, Angel, and I are going to walk out on the range, and we're going to demo with a target as we fan out what could have happened and, well, quite frankly, what we would have done, what we think should have happened. So we're going to walk through this at a slower pace where we can talk through what happened. Angel's the #1 cop who had the body cam footage, and then Zach is going to be the rifle cop who actually had a taser in his hand on initial entrance, and I'll be the third person who comes in. Okay, so Zach and Angel, they start to walk in. Angel's gun was actually holstered at the moment. We can't figure out why, but he holstered it before he went into the store. They enter, and then the third man walks in between the two. And up to this point, everything is pretty decent. The officer with the rifle, Zach, takes his taser, and it looks like he engages and fires with the taser. And after the taser, and you hear, he's got a gun, you watch them fan out. And here's where it all goes wrong. They start to fan out, and we hear, he's got a gun, taser goes off, and they fan out. As they fan out, this officer comes into his shooting stance. Keep in mind, the suspect has been down this entire time. So this suspect is not standing like our target is. The suspect is laying down. So he's shooting down, and the doorway to the entrance is somewhere in this direction with that fourth officer responding. So he's shooting potentially at the guy laying down and potentially at the doorway of the next responding officers. That's probably why that fourth officer backed out. I'm making an assumption here, because he probably saw a gunfight going on and rounds coming that direction. So you can see how in line this is potentially with his teammates. All right, so now we're going to walk through what we would recommend doing, right? Just another way of doing it, but something that would be far less potential of a blue on blue or shooting your own teammates. So Zach and Angel walk in. I become the third man, and I enter. I split between the door, and we see the guy pops out, and we say, he's got a gun. We fan out. How far could we spread? Well, we can continue spreading as far left and right as we need, but notice we're still on line. There's a little bit of a horseshoe shape to it, a little bit of a curve, but we're just spreading out, fanning on line. Third cop comes in.
Taser.
Good.
So that's one way of doing it. It's not to say that's the only way, but an online assault is going to be the simplest, most basic way that you can keep your teammates safe, and you have no training. An online assault is just like the most basic way you guys can fire and not worry about hitting each other. Zach, do you have any thoughts on that?
Just being mindful. So if police officers, anybody in general, you have a shooting partner or multiple shooting partners. Just be mindful of what you're doing, but also be mindful of where's the blue force picture, where my teammate's at.
Yeah. Highly recommend that you train, especially if you're law enforcement, that you guys train not just at the range, but also train in dynamic spaces. Like that situation in the supermarket, it became dynamic. The moment they went into the supermarket, now it's incredibly dynamic. And the number 4 rule of safety, knowing your target and what's beyond it, that's a big deal. And a lot of times people don't train knowing their target and what's beyond it. They just think of it as a phrase that they use. So start training in dynamic situations where you have a target and there are other obstacles behind it. Close quarters combat, room clearing, that's a great way to learn it, but just get out there and start practicing. All right, so if you like what you saw, go ahead and let us know in the comments section. Also, if you had any thoughts of your own or any questions you want to ask. Also, if there's any videos you want to see us cover in the future, please let us know. We're going to be doing a few more of these. Hit that subscribe button and also like it. And then check out USCCA for more. And as always, continue training, because that's how we move forward and that's how we progress.